Let's start.
Wait a while, wait a while.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. We will wait for a little while for more coming to join. We will start soon. And Ayas Inca. Our topic today is getting from company goals to customer solutions. Nowadays, many companies are anxious for ideas followed by immediate execution to reach the business goals, but few of them test the ideas to assess their actual effect before action. However, this is just too important for business to be ignored. Later, Mr. Brandon, the founder of Testing Ground, will give us the speak to address this issue. Brian has mentored over 100 startups on how to test their ideas. He will elaborate how to generate ideas and create solutions that are aligned with your business goals. But before that, we will have Mr. Andy Wee, General Manager of IS Inca, to give us a brief introduction about IS Inca. During the session, if you have any questions, please feel free to type in the chat box. Our speakers will answer during the Q&A at the end of the program. So first of all, let's welcome Andy. Over to you, Andy.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I'm the manager of IES Inca, and welcome to today's session where we have our speaker, Brian, to share with you later. But let me just do a quick introduction about IES and IES Inca to get you how to speed on what we do. And then we will be tackling this topic, how to get from company goals to customer solutions. Okay, this event is organized jointly with Testing Ground, who has a lot of services relating to helping companies and startup companies, founders to test their ideas in the market, also across geographical regions. Later you hear lots of it from Brian and his team. Okay. So for those who are not familiar, IES is a Institution for Engineers Singapore, established since 1966, and its mission is to advance and promote science, arts, and professional engineering for the well-being of mankind. In Singapore, vision is to be the heart and voice of engineers, and it's a national body for engineers. So all engineers in this event do consider joining us. We will send you more information later. It's our council. It has just been refreshed, but I still only have the old council slides. Professor Yu Lian Wing was the president and has now handed on the president role to Dr. Richard Kwok, who is leading IES into the future. And these are our council members comprising of people from academia, government, and also professional, private professional individuals. And all of them are engineers serving the larger community of engineers and enhancing and growing the profession. So IES is divided into different clusters that cover different areas of engineering, and also various technical committees that advance the knowledge in engineering, in training, and also in networking. So we have different technical committees, for example, civil structural engineering, precision engineering, aerospace. All these different areas are there to lead the knowledge in engineering and to also build the professionalism in all these areas. Okay. Now moving on, let me introduce to you IES Inca. IES Inca stands for IES Incubator Accelerator. And our mission is to support science, technology, and engineering ventures in engineering translation and helping founders and companies to accelerate the market. And what we want to build is a vibrant engineering venture community that really can transform lives through the technologies that they have and through the products and solutions that they built. Yeah. So the unique point about Incubator, it's built upon the IES, the largest network of a body of engineers in Singapore, and its close links to the industry and also to the government. And we're being recognized as the national body for engineers, and the movement can do a lot to help push for new technology commercialization. And we are also focused on incentivizing engineers towards this building of these companies, and we want to support them in that journey by providing knowledge, business advice, and also mentoring. And lastly, IES Inca serves to be the hub that joins engineering solutions and companies across industries, across the universities, polys, and also research institute. So we want to really be a hub that can link engineers to network and to connect through different points of the network in new ventures. Okay. So how does IES Inca really help the incubatees that we take on? Companies who are keen to be incubated, they come to us once they have done their customer discovery and validation. They have some solution, maybe in the prototyping stage or some units, but they need to scale up. They need to grow into mass production. They need to build their solutions into more units and high reliability. That's where we come in, where we advise the companies how they can scale up, providing them with mentors that are able to guide them in their area of needs. Will also help to extend them into the IES network, where they can find potential customers, or they can find partners that can help them to be able to deliver their solution more reliably, and also business planning, and also source for necessary fundraising to execute those plans. So companies who have completed the incubation, they have an executable business plan, the required funding, and the expanded resources that they need to execute that plan. Okay. And our focus areas for IES Inca to incubate is in the infrastructure technology, building related materials, processes, and facilities management, in the IoT space for industrial purpose and smart cities, robotics automation, and also in the clean tech sustainability space. So these are where we are focusing on. And interestingly, many of the companies also have combinations of these few areas, building very innovative and very state-of-the-art solutions for the market. Yeah, so welcome companies who are doing work in these areas and looking to scale up. Yeah, come talk to us. And these are some of our IES Inca partners. We have Enterprise Singapore, who's supporting us in the SG Accelerator program, and also in the SG Founder program. We are an accredited mentor partner to help the first-time entrepreneurs who want to start their business. We are supporting mostly companies who are in the engineering space, working on hardware or hardware-software integration solutions, less on the software type of companies. Okay, and IPI, we're working closely with them. A-Star Accelerate, which is the tech commercialization arm of A-Star. And some other partners, we have NUS Enterprise, Intuitive, SMF, Specta. And a very interesting partner we have is ISCA, Institute of Singapore Chartered Accountants. They are the national body for accountants in Singapore, and it consists of many members in the accounting space, auditing, also many talented business people in there. So we work closely with them to supply mentors to help our incubatees. And jointly, we have created a investor network comprising of IES members and ISCA members with assets of 12.12 million to invest into some of the incubatees that are working with us. Okay. So IES itself also has a very good reach into the ASEAN market through AFIO, the ASEAN Federation of Engineering Organizations, where we have counterparts in all the ASEAN countries. So if you have a technology, a solution that you want to reach out into these markets, from our incubator, we can help to connect with other members of this AFIO and able to reach the bigger markets in ASEAN. Okay, so who can be incubated with IES Inca? These are the broad criteria: customer validation and discovery, build MVP, need to scale up, size of minimum 1 million and above, and also the key team member is an IES member. Okay, and we certainly want to also outreach to engineering technology SMEs. We see a lot of potential in those companies as well, and we are encouraging them to spin off smaller entities that can build new, maybe emerging technology solutions, and these companies can also be incubated by IES Inca. And our Dare to Transform program is set up to outreach to SMEs. Some may need help in doing a business review. We have a pool of business consultants who are well-trained, very good in broad areas of engineering and also business, and they are available to work with the SMEs who want to have a review of their business model, and also to get fresh ideas on how they can be positioned for growth. And certainly if they have a spin-off that they want to incubate with us, we are available. They can work with us to incubate some of these new companies that they have created. Okay, and if you need any info on this, please email us on incubate@iesinca.com. Okay, let me just do a very brief intro to SG Founder Program. And just today, there is a big announcement of some new changes. I'll just roughly run through them. Yeah, and you can also apply for this if you're a first-time entrepreneur. This is the link where I'll send you in the slides post-event. This is the old program that's available until 25th of September. For first-time entrepreneurs, there is a 30K matching to a 3-to-1 in a 3-to-1 ratio for first-time entrepreneurs, and criteria. One key applicant, they need to be full-time on this. They must have a company that's registered less than 6 months, and be able to have a business idea, strong differentiation, feasible business model, good market potential, and strong management team. And they will get a matching grant of 30K with their own investment of 10K. Yeah. Okay. This is the process of application. I'll just briefly mention that basically ourselves as an AMP, we work with the founders who have an idea. There are some forms to submit. We will guide you through submitting those forms, and we will submit those forms to ESG, who will approve. And once you get the approval, you'll get your offer letter and disbursement of half the funds. And then when you meet the milestones, you get the other set of the funds for this grant. Okay. Okay, so what has happened in today, the new announcement is that the grant has been increased from 30K to 50K, and the new requirements is that there must be 3 founders in the team, and at least 2 of them must be first-time entrepreneurs. So those are the key changes that have been added on today, and to support more companies, but they want the bigger teams in the companies. And the next new change is that the universities have been given the role of venture builders, so they have a program where they can support some of the teams that want to go through the venture building process, and also they are given a stipend and being supported by universities who have a very strong track record in helping companies. Yeah. So those are the main changes. We will email you the links that you can read up on, and certainly can talk to us if you have any questions. So for your awareness, there is a SG Startup Network supported by ESG, and do put your profiles in there, because ESG is closely looking through some of these profiles, and there's a very strong network of investors, even mentors, and also startups that you can collaborate with. Okay, so it's certainly a useful network that you can access to, and be able to connect with many people over there. Okay. On top of our programs that we are running, we are going to also be coming up with a number of courses that will really support engineers and also technopreneurs in their venture building. We are tapping on our panel of consultants from the Dare to Transform program to run some of these courses, which we hope that you will be able to attend and really grow your knowledge in how to run the business well. And certainly these courses are going to be very much applied. It will be tapping a lot of the experience of very knowledgeable business people, and also technology entrepreneurs that have been running their business for quite a while. Yeah. Okay, so this is my contact. Feel free to connect with me. I will send my LinkedIn link that you can contact me, and yeah, continue to build your venture. So I'm going to hand over back to Hong Jie.
Thanks, Sandy, for the sharing. If you have any questions, please feel free to type in the Q&A box. Now I will pass to Brian. Over to you, Brian.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much, Andy. Glad to be here, everybody. Give me a while, I spotlight my video. I'm not sharing my screen. I'm actually using my own camera. I've got something to input in. So what will happen is that you have to spotlight me, right? But it should have been done already. Okay, hi everybody. My name is Brian. I'm the founder of Testing Ground. Happy to be here to share with you on how to get from company goals to solutions, right? So let me just shrink myself down. And you're going to see my face here while I'm going to be talking through the slides, okay? So that way it's fairly more personal in that sense. So you're going to see a mini version of me as I talk through this thing. All right, so just a little bit about myself. I'm the founder of Testing Ground and Stack, which was a B2B enterprise level software that I did, and I sold it in 2017. I'm the ex-president of the Association of Lean Startups. I organize Lean Startup Circle. I'm currently an entrepreneur in residence in Singapore University of Social Sciences. But that's just one of the things that I'm doing. I'm also trying out some other startups. So I'm also an entrepreneur, a technopreneur, but I also understand, and most of all, I understand what it's like to start something and have to grow it, and the growing pains of getting from 0 to 1. I've spoken about Lean Startup across Southeast Asia, spoke to many organizations, right? And I mentored at numerous events, and currently I'm mentoring 15 startups even. And at the core, actually, interestingly, I am still an engineer. I studied mechanical engineering. That's still my first love. Then I did an MBA, and then I did a law degree. So some people ask me, why in the world do you study so many degrees, right? So I've kind of felt that as an engineer, I could create value. As learning MBA, I learned to distribute that value. And as a legally trained person, then I know how to protect value. And so that's kind of where I felt my education journey lies. But interestingly, I think degrees, because can't collect degrees anymore. In fact, Google just came out with a program that says that in 6 months, if you go through the Google program, we will consider it as eligible to be employed by us as much as anybody who go through a 4-year program. So it's interesting that even Google is disrupting higher Institute of Higher Learning through their way of saying, you know what, I can squeeze everything you all do in 4 years, I'll do it in 6 months. So that's Google for you, okay? So I'll be going on to talk about the following, all right? So today's topic is actually getting from company goals to customer solution, and I want to share with you how do you get products out the startup way. And one of the frameworks I'm going to be using, in fact, the main framework I'm using will be from what Spotify uses, right? And they call it the thoughtful execution framework. If you search online, you will see the same framework appear, except that this time around, when you see what I'm doing here, I'll be giving you the details, the hidden part of how to execute that framework, okay? So the first thing is this. I want to just share the following today. The problem is strategy. I want to teach you how to discover hidden problems. I want you to know how to test those opportunities. I want you to be able to use this innovation execution framework and able to introduce it into your company or into your startup, all right? So now that you understand that, I'm going to start off not with any theory, not with anything other than an introduction to my #1 startup, the first one that I did and which failed. So this is a story of big life treats. My startup, I did it while I was halfway through law school. I was getting really bored and I couldn't handle criminal law anymore. And I was like, I think I got to stop studying here. I got to try something. So I came out with this idea and where I can give away experiences to your loved ones, but reducing the risk of giving away a bad experience or an unwanted experience, not a bad experience, but an unwanted experience. Maybe we can package these experiences together into kind of like a voucher. You can give 6 of these or 6 experiences away, and your loved one gets to choose 1 out of the 6. So I thought it was a good idea because at that point in time, I wasn't the only one doing it. There were others in other countries that were doing this thing, and I figured, well, let's try it in Singapore. My innovation is giving people choice of 1 out of 6. Others were giving singular vouchers, right? So, and my goal, right, was to build strong family relationships. And I figured that, if I want to build strong family relationships, right, then I better change the way gifts are being given. Because right now, the way that we are in Singapore, everybody is so busy. So what happens? Everything goes into this thing called a red packet, right? So you take the red packet and you give your loved one a happy birthday, do whatever you want with it. Unfortunately, that's very high on convenience, but very low on meaning. It basically means, I'm so sorry, I don't have time to get you anything. Hope this works for you, right? On the other hand, if you try to make something really meaningful, then you're going to spend a lot of time doing it. And I was going through research about gifting and all that. And one thing that popped out in the research was that experience. Giving experiences away is a sure thing. Bad or good, ultimately, after that, you all can laugh about it. Ha ha ha, that was a good gift you give me. It was not good going through it, but we can still laugh over it. And experience grows in value over time, but physical possession decreases over time. So I said, all right, so let's change the way gifts are being given. Let's give away experiences. Let's customize those gift of experiences. You choose out of 30 over experiences I give you in different categories. You choose 6 of them, and then you can give it to your loved ones. But then, if you want to give a gift, right? You can't just give a gift just by voucher, not enough, right? So you're gonna have to add in customization, so voice, and being the engineer, again, cannot handle it, must create something, right? So I even created this voice recordable, it's not a photo frame, but it allows our vouchers to be put inside it. So then when they press it, like your voice come out, happy birthday, mother. So it's very, very, very meaningful. Let's say, wait, hang on. Even if you have the packaging all done, still got other stuff, because you still have the delivery. So if we can give you a way to upsize this, right? So that people begin to be surprised by it. So I said, yeah, here are gift options, right? So you can open up open a box, and then a helium balloon will appear, and it says you deserve a special treat. Very, very good. So far on plan, right? And we wrote out a business plan. Again, MBA taught me about it. This was the days before really whatever things that we are doing in the startup scene came about. At that time, you're teaching us how to write business plans. I did what I know. I wrote it out. I executed it. I said, yay, let's go, right? Became busy very fast. Burn money also lah, right? Because you're going to have to make stuff, you can't just create nothing and then how do the customers do what? So what I did was I started hiring developers, got salespeople to go and get me my merchants, right? But as with all startups, a storm arrives lah. So it's never smooth sailing. My co-founder had some family issues. The wife got jealous of his involvement in the startup because he's also a full-time employee and he's doing the startup work at night. And the wife gave him an ultimatum, right? Which was either you choose a startup or you choose me. Which one do you want? Don't remember the vision of Big Life Treats, right? And the vision was to build strong family relationships. And we look at each other, we're like, oh, wait, hang on. If you end up in divorce, doesn't make sense that the founder of something like this could actually end up in divorce. So I said, you know what, sell back all the shares to me, I'll take it on. Take on not just responsibility, okay? This was supposed to be split 50-50 financially, okay? So 100% of the financial load came on me. Not only that, Groupon also started really massive marketing in Singapore, right? All of a sudden, those experiences started dropping in prices like crazy. I said, no choice already, better hurry up. So took the dive, no turning back, just go, dash forward, launch the thing, and no one came now. I ran out of cash after that. So mainly ran out of cash also because, like I said, it was supposed to be, at least when I launched, I was supposed to have another year, right? But my co-founder exited, right? So I was hoping that with whatever we have, that we might be able to find customers. All that didn't work. In any case, I stopped after a few months, right? And I closed the thing down and I didn't cry. No, one thing about you soon realize doing entrepreneurship is that you fail all the time. I'm very numb to failing already, right? But at least I'm getting better at it, okay? But I didn't cry. So I went to Unagony, named Google. Today got some outage, so never mind. So I said, how to do a startup, okay? So I went to go and I go and search Google for it, how to do a startup. And Google actually came out with this book, and it's called The Lean Startup. And so I read that book. And in that book, it talks about a few concepts which I'm about to share right now. Why am I sharing this with you? I'm sharing this with you because one of the big realizations that I had doing that was when I read the book Lean Startup was that this definition really popped out. And Steve Blank said this: a startup is a temporary organization built to search for the answers to what make a repeatable, scalable business model before running out of resources. A few things. The number one thing that I never thought of when I started this startup, that it was still pretty much temporary. It was not meant to be, it's not yet a full-fledged company. It's still searching. Interestingly, you can see even funding rounds could not really mean that a startup is permanent. You've seen multiple startups that raised hundreds of millions of dollars and still close at the end because they could not find a viable business model, right? So And the other thing that appeared was this: no business plan survives first contact with the customer. Adapted again from War sayings, where it says no war plans, right, survives first contact with the enemy. No better plan survives first contact with the customer, the enemy. So in the same way, whatever plans that you have as a company, when you launch it, it will never survive first contact with the customer. The problem is people put in a lot of time into their business plan because the way we execute don't really allow for change. First, I guess in the software world, people now know Agile. Interestingly, in the hardware world, we should have something we call spiral development, right? So if you're an engineer, you might know this term called spiral development. The funny thing is at the product level, we have some way of dealing with iteration and change and building in customer requirements because they are fluid, we are able to adapt to it. So before that, it was waterfall, where here's a concept, we build up requirements, we do the design, everything, and then we execute, right? So on the other hand, the question that you got to ask yourself is, if the product has an agile way of making, then what about the way you strategize your plans? Today, most companies are still strategizing in pretty much a waterfall manner. COVID, of course, has disrupted that, right? Whatever work plan that you have for this year is completely thrown out. And whatever you plan in the beginning of the year, thrown out. But that's because COVID forced it. If not, everybody will still happily go through their quarterly planning, go into whatever thing they need to do, trying to match up to whatever they promised for the work plan seminar, right? So the way we execute still doesn't allow for change. And that's a problem in strategy planning today, right? Is that when the realities in the marketplace actually call for a change in strategy before the ink dries on the strategic plan. Is that when the market, by the time you finish planning and you're about to launch it and says, okay guys, this is approved by top management, the marketplace has changed. This is not just because of COVID, it's been happening for the past 5 to 6 years. The moment technology became ubiquitous, when mobile penetration went up like crazy because of the cheapness of the phone from China, or Xiaomi, Oppo phones, behavior started changing. Customers expected different things, and slowly but surely, industry started being disrupted. And the problem is that strategies fail to deliver on potential, right? And mainly because there's a disconnect between the ones who are planning the strategy and the ones who are doing it. So there's no way, because of the waterfall way of doing things, for people on the ground to feedback that to the management and say, not working, can we change this? So guess what happens? By hook or by crook, people on the ground is like, okay, let's try and make it work somehow, call in favors, do all kinds of stuff, right? They will hide things, they will try to pretend that everything is good to the boss, right? Only until when they promote, they're hoping, oh, please let me get promoted out of this role. Then after that, this project pass on to the next person, right? So strategy in the end failed after multiple years, right? And failed to deliver on the potential. And the other part about strategic planning, at least the annual one, is that this whole FOMO thing, okay? So when you look at it, I'm going to move myself away for a while, okay? Employees know if something isn't in the work plan, they're not going to get it because it's not going to get budgeted. So they throw everything into the strategic planning. So, okay, we want to do this. Because the more I show you I want to do stuff, the more I look like I'm able to do stuff. So what happened to strategic planning? It tries to be strategic, but it ends up becoming kitchen sink and everything. Just throw, just whatever we can, throw, whatever sticks. Because as long as got 1 or 2 projects become my pet project, the rest fail, never mind. No? But I better have something. So the more I have, the better it is. So it cascades down, and guess what? People on the ground feel overwhelmed. It's like too many projects, too many things to work on. And I think a lot of you might actually experience this in your actual workplace or in your career, right? So that's where Lean Startup comes in. Eric Ries wrote this book almost 10 years ago now. It's many years already, okay? And when he wrote it at that point in time, it was to go and help people learn how to remove the waste in the search for a startup. So we as engineers, we know this term called lean engineering. So we know it already. But lean doesn't mean cheap. We also know it's not cheap because lean engineering is not cheap engineering. We know that for sure. But unfortunately, when it's used in the startup world, lean startup, people always associate it with cheap startup. I have no idea why. But for those of us who are engineers, we now know that lean actually means no waste. The whole point of lean engineering is to remove waste. The waste in the process, right, of creating something. So lean startup is about removing waste in the creation of a startup, right? And not only that, Lean Startup brought in this scientific approach to how do you create and manage the startups. Most part of Lean Startup is actually focused on the creating the startup phase. I'm trying to share with you today how to manage the startup using even Lean Startup principles. But mainly the whole idea here is that can we bring in a scientific approach to create and manage startups? So why? The outcome is to get the desired products into customer hands faster. Look, it's not just throw anything. You can create a lot of things fast if you want to really, and if enough management focuses on it. But are you sure that customers really want it? How do you manage the speed and viability and desirability all at the same time? So that's where Lean Startup comes in to help you to manage that process. So you move away from elaborate planning, intuition, and big design up front, right? To this whole thing of big experimentation, feedback, and iterative design. For many of us as engineers, we're probably getting used to this already in the product world. The question is, can we do this in the strategic side of the business or the startup, where we move from sequential activities to an iterative process? So this is going to be like the most powerful part of Lean Startup. Of course, it's called the build, measure, and learn loop. Right? Again, nothing outstanding, right? I mean, after all, we really know about all kinds of ways to like, oh, you know, we have to do before, after, during, and then after to do feedback. Quite common lah. But the thing about this was that it brought in the concept of that it feeds into itself. You see, most processes end. You look at agile, you look at design, and then you look design thinking, you look at and Lean Startup. Today, Lean Startup is the one that says things are going to be in a circle. It's constant iteration. Constant iteration will never stop. Even for your product, even for your business model especially, you're going to have to build, measure, learn, and improve and keep on moving forward. Okay? Now, just to let you know, what to us, we consider a build, measure, and learn loop to be one experiment. And then at this point, you might be like, yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense. You know, it has to be like one loop, right? Unfortunately, not true. In real life, most people will build, most people will measure, most people will not learn. They will get the data, and then they look at some things and they jump at the straight away, the outlier data. Right? Oh, that's not right. And then quickly try to solve that problem. Guess what? Engineers are, right? So we try to solve the problem without taking a step back and actually say, wait. Is that noise or is there a true signal? What, are we seeing signal or are we seeing noise here? Do we have enough data to make the decision, or are we just jumping because our emotions is jumping into is causing us to overreact? So the learn part is very difficult. So how do we build, measure, and learn? And so that's why we create this whole, I mean, that's why we use a scientific method into this. Where what's a scientific method, right? The beauty of talking to engineers is that at least you all know this part here. For many of the students that I meet, they come from business school or they come from other faculties. When you say the scientific method, they don't really get it lah, right? But at least you are engineers. I hope that you all get this. What is a scientific method? It basically says that when we see something in the world, we first we ask a question. From that question, we form a hypothesis. The hypothesis, we create experiments, right? The experiment then will either confirm the hypothesis or reject the hypothesis. If it confirms the hypothesis, confirm enough hypothesis, right? Enough times, the hypothesis becomes a theory. Now, what is the business model? You do this enough times on your startup, you will end up with a business model, because all the individual guesses and hypotheses that you have about your startup is validated. In the end, you end up with a theory of business, i.e. your business model, right? So your business model is your theory. What's the theory? It says that, well, if these conditions happen, this will happen, right? PV is equal to nRT, ideal gas law, right? If this is ideal gas, it will behave like an ideal gas, right? The closer it approximates an ideal gas, the more it behaves like an ideal gas. So I can use PV, pressure times volume, is proportional to temperature. So I can use that formula, F equal to MA. All these things all require assumptions. So when those assumptions, when those conditions, assumptions are met, then you can use the formula, right? So when you have a business model, is your theory of your business, the conditions work, your business model works. But when COVID hits, no longer same, not ideal gas anymore, not ideal selling conditions, guess what? Your theory fails. Businesses forget this. that your business model is basically a theory as long as all the external conditions are still okay. If they are still fairly stable, you're good to go. If they start changing, you're doomed, right? So that's why Spotify came out with this thing called a thoughtful execution framework. It's nothing more than a very beautiful way of just presenting exactly all that I said. The reason why I brought it up was because it's Spotify lah. No, if I say I come up with it, you all won't believe me, right? So I use Spotify's name to entice you all to come in or to look at this thing, isn't it? So when I say Spotify, you all, oh, when I say Brian, people are, huh? Right? So I use Spotify, right? Spotify also did this. The main reason why they came out with this framework was mainly because they were saying, hey, so here's the thing, they said, our people, when we give them a goal, strategy, goal, they straight away go to idea. Goal, idea. All thinking of ideas, then immediately, okay, this is a good idea, let's execute on it. Spotify, even though they're quite lean already, but as they go deeper into the departments, not the ones who are coming out with cutting edge features, right? But improvements and all that, they went from goal to idea. And managed the design, the head of design was saying, that's not good. Why are we just jumping from goal to idea? Because when the idea fails, we don't know why it fails. We just know that it doesn't work. So he says, what happened to our ethos of experimenting? So she came out with this thoughtful execution framework. Okay, in the thoughtful execution framework, you can see the goal is right on top, right? Goal, so I can point to it, it's over here. Goal is right at the top, okay? And then you see, don't jump to the solution. You see, there's a whole bunch of stuff in between which I will go through with you, right? So before what? So with that, I'm going to go through to the next part already. Okay, so I tell you the problem with strategy already. All right. So I say, what's problem in strategy today? And how we can improve on it. And so the thoughtful execution framework comes in, where it allows you to say, to discover, the first step of the thoughtful execution framework is to discover the hidden problems. So your goal, the first thing you're going to start is to get data and insights, not jump to solution. Don't do that. No. People usually just jump. Can you see there's a lot more to it? First you're going to do is you're going to find the data and insights, right? So, or is it not? It's not that obvious because most people will jump to a solution, right? So at this point here, I don't have time to teach you how to set goals. I didn't intend to do that, right? So if you want to know how to set goals, go search out Google OKRs, Objective Key Results. And simple way to phrase a goal is what we want to achieve as measured by this set of key results. For example, we want to delight customers as measured by an increase of recurring purchases by 20%. Okay, so that will be an example of a goal. All right, so if you want to know, go find Google OKRs. All right, so going back on how to get those insights. All right, so this whole part here, remember, you can search out this thing. It's called the Thoughtful Execution Framework. You search it out, you will see her article. I'm trying to fill up the article with the how-tos, not why you should do it, okay? So this one is quite exclusive. No one else is hearing except for the 21 of you right now, okay? So I've not written a blog post. I'm not talk about this. This is really just strictly just for this particular event. But the question is, okay, how, Brian, how to get data and insights? So I'm going to share with you 6 ways to get those insights, right? So number 1, interview your customers or your users. Wow, just like that. Yeah, you get a lot of data and insights with your existing customers and users, and that's exactly what Testing Ground did. We went to one construction company, and I'm not going to say which one, but you can see the picture, right? So the construction equipment company, and they were asking us to, hey, what problem can we solve here? They came out with an idea. I said, wait, don't talk about your idea first, right? Tell me what is the goal that you want. Then based on the goal, we went to go and talk to the customers to uncover their hidden problems. We let them share their problems, share their pain. So we went to do interviews with those customers and users. And that's kind of what Testing Ground does, is we help our customers to scale up their testing ability with their, especially for new innovations, with their customers or with prospective customers. Another one, very interesting, is that you have frontline staff or salespeople or some people who are actually interfacing with your customers. You should go and talk to them and say, hey, tell us anything interesting. We have this goal here, right? What is some ways that will help the customers get to that goal that we want? So talk to your frontline staff. Very, very, very important. The other one, if you want to do interviews, this next week is just all about interviews, right? And if you want to know how to do those interviews, post this whole webinar, we will be running a course. You can come and find us, all right? So interviews with your frontline staff. The other one is interviews with your past customers, customers who have left you, customers who didn't sign up back with you. Go talk to them, find out what's the reason. You see, don't make strategy in a vacuum. The last thing you want to do is to assume that everything that happens in the conference room is correct. So don't quickly go talk to your customers. And many times I found that the moment people talk to customers, they come back with like, oh, I didn't realize. Wow, this is mind-blowing. We didn't know that they were struggling with that. You will get new insights, okay? The other thing that you can do, especially if you do have customer service officers and hotlines or email addresses, emails for people to write to, look at those records. Because you see, the thing is this, is that if you're an upper management, you never, ever, 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 ever see the customer service emails, do you? You only see big metrics, right? No, go look at the actual emails. Look at what people are talking about. Be involved in that, and you will begin to get a sense of how happy, or listen online. Many the telephone ones, the calls are recorded. Of course, they say recorded for training purposes, right? But usually it's just for protect their backside, okay? So you go and look at past service records. Go and see where are your customers like, I'm so frustrated with you, right? About to scream and so angry with your customer service officer. I mean, actually, it's not their fault, right? They're not even the ones who designed the thing, okay? Another way to find what people are complaining, go search online, right? So one of the things that we do very well is to go online and we search out where the customers are complaining or asking questions online, so that we can let our customers, our clients, right, who have gotten us in to help them do the testing service, to see, hey, what are people actually wishing for, saying that things could be better, or asking online. This is a contractor forum, and you can see that, oh, am I stuck with spreadsheets? I need an app like this. Powerful, right? And the customers are telling you, can you please build this? I really need this. You don't even need to go and like plan it in a strategy boardroom. They are telling you what they want exactly, okay? So another thing is then go and see what your competitors' customers are complaining or asking online. So there are many other software like this, Trustpilot, for example, right? You go and see what your competitors' customers are complaining about your competitors. Also very powerful, right? So all these ways, these 6 ways are highlighted to you. They're supposed to help you get data and insights. Again, this is not meant to be a comprehensive. There are many other ways, all right? If you want to know more, again, like I said, at the end of this whole webinar, we are going to give you a chance to sign up for a course of ours. And also we have some services that we can render to give to you to help you to interview your customers, right? But what happens once you discover those hidden opportunities? The next one we want to say, okay, fine, how do we test? All right, so you see we have the goal. Then the next thing is the data insights. Based on those data insights, you're going to discover that all kinds of problems, but you'll find that one of those problems got a lot of insights and a lot of data that tells you big problem, big problem. Okay, so you don't just jump from goal and then go. I mean, it's good. Some people jump to problem to solve. That's already very good. But they don't jump from a goal. They don't jump from goal to problem based on data and insights from the customers. It's based on data insights from themselves. If I'm the customer, I really don't like this thing. I think this is sucky. I think we should change the UI of our app. How come? Yeah, I don't think it looks good. It's not like Google's one, or it's not like you see how Grab does it. So nothing, customer never complain, but boss complain. So guess what? Engineering team have to go and change because boss complain. But is boss a customer? No, because the boss never use the software day in and day out. The customers do, okay? But because, it's a hippo thing, highest income paid person in the room, right? So he make a decision, everybody follow. So when you do that, you basically just jump from goal to a solution when actually there's a chance to do stuff for the customers. So find the opportunity mountains, the big ones. Find the big mountains there, right? Because each problem leads to different solutions. What do you mean by that, Brian? All right, so take for example, so Spotify put in there, right? So for example, their goal, I want to improve sign up. So they use the data, they're going to look at the customer behavior, look at some stuff, and they notice, how can we motivate users to download the app, right? To proceed to the sign up page, because it looks like they're not really going to the sign up page. Okay, how can we motivate users, right, to download the app, to complete the registration form? How might we minimize errors? So by looking at the data, they notice at the stop points when people have downloaded the app, where are all the stop points? So they've indicated. So you can see each, even though it's improved sign up, there are different problems to solve. Why is that important? So imagine you have this big goal, and the big goal, like just now, I got 3 problems. If you go out and you talk to customers and interview them and test it out with them, and then you realize problem number 1, no one really cares, it's not really a big problem, then guess what? You don't have to do product 1 and product 2 or feature 1 and feature 2, do you? Right? And you go out there, you go and test problem 2, and you realize, no one really cares again, right? And guess what? You don't need to do product 3 and 4. You go and test problem 3, and it turns out, yeah, actually it's a big problem for a lot of customers who then can focus on product 5. Look, by testing at the problem level, it actually saves you all the production and development time for product 1, 2, 3, and 4. Because if you have spent time and money and resources making them, and you push it out to market, guess what's going to happen? No one wants. So you're not going to get the goal that you want, right? It's not going to move the needle at all. Whereas only problem 3 is the one. So instead of wasting all the time creating all the above all the above, you go and focus on the problems instead, right? Focus on the problems, then you can focus on the product. So right problem, then right solution. Okay. So based on that, after that, okay, we found 1 problem to solve already. What do we do next? Scientific method come in already. You see, the thing is this, imagine even at the strategic level, people don't come up with strategic hypothesis, do they? They come up with strategic plan or strategic document or strategic whatever you want to call it. Nobody come up with, here's my hypothesis for a strategy, because it sounds iffy. It doesn't sound like I'm a leader, I know how to make decisions, this is what we want, everybody let's charge. In today's world, to have that kind of thing, imagine people want, in the beginning of the year, right? They were already talking about that. Right? Okay, this year, we're going to expand, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, do this. As if the year is not going to change and how fast things change. So how do we, if it was just a hypothesis, you say, oh, shoot, everything has changed, discard, come back, look at the goal, come up with new data, find new problems and opportunities again, right? So right now I'm asking you all to come out with your hypothesis for your strategy, right? So I'm not going to go too much into how to set up the hypothesis. Again, if you want to know, come for our follow-on course for this. So a hypothesis hack will be this. If we do X, Y will do Z because of star. What does that mean? If we sell science project kits, millennial parents who are the customers, what will they do? They will buy the kits online because, why? Because they prefer curated science projects, right? So if we do X, Y will do Z because of star. Very simple hypothesis. We do this, customer will do that. And it has to be a behavior that you're measuring. We don't want to measure opinions. We don't want to measure what customers think. We want to measure what customers do. What do they actually do? So how do we, and so we set up a hypothesis. Why is a hypothesis important? Because at the end, when you get the data, you can match it with your hypothesis and say what happened, right? And if it turns out wrong, then you discard the hypothesis and come up with another one, right? And once you have the hypothesis, then you come up with a solution. And that's where you come up with what we call the minimum viable product. In Lean Startup, we call it the minimum viable product. So the minimum viable product is the smallest thing you can do to test to see what customers will do, okay? Ultimately, what you're trying to do, fastest way to learn. So change the way that you're thinking from execution to, now that we have a hypothesis, what are the experiments, what's the minimum viable products, the things that we can do, the smallest thing that we can do to execute on so then quickly learn whether our hypothesis is true or not, okay? So in this case here, as you can see, Spotify came out with different versions, to lay out stuff, right? So in order to get people to, they say, in this case, this is another problem. So they say, as you can see, basically every hypothesis will have different solutions for it. So I'm going to give you 3 examples. So here's the thing. So here's my bonus for you. Solution MVP, solution minimum viable products, for you to test a solution, okay? What's the smallest thing you can do to spark the customer's imagination so they can get early commitment? All you need to do is spark imagination. You don't need to come up with an actual product, okay? So if you come to testing ground and you want our services, we won't actually need to wait until you come up with something that we need to test. We can create stuff to spark imagination, and it's not necessary to be even a prototype. Well, the main thing we do this is figure out anybody care and whether anybody will pay. The main thing here is this is a business model test. We are trying to see whether people care enough. Will this move the needle in terms of our goal? And when we say pay, it doesn't just mean cash. It also means in terms of the sacrifice that they make in order to do. So like they spend more time registering, or maybe they actually completed a survey form or something like this. They actually did the action that we want them to do, okay? So today I will teach you 3 solution minimum viable products, okay? One is called the solution pitch minimum MVP. The next one is concierge, and the last one is the Wizard of Oz. Again, all this stuff you can see online, not a problem, it's all available, right? This question is how to do it, all right? But I'm just going to introduce you the concepts first. So solution pitch MVP, pitching without a product. So as you can see here, this is testing ground. We send out our testers in Indonesia here in Jakarta, and they go out there, all they have is just a flyer in hand, right? Describing the problem and the solution, and they went out to the streets, and on that day, we interviewed, not just interview, we pitched 100 customers. We didn't just, we do the interview after the pitch. What does that mean? It means that after we pitch them, then when people say no, then we want to know. If they say yes, we also want to know. Either way, if they say, regardless of whether they say yes or no, the moment they say something, we want to see whether it's true, especially if they say yes. In this case here, as you can see, there's money. So all these people are getting money. They say, this cash, this is actual cash. So they hand over cash to us to say that we want to be your early customers. We want to come in. So we bring our testers out to the market and they test the product on behalf of the customer. So that's one way that you can do, is to go pitch your customers first, your to-be or existing customers, for whatever new feature you have. See whether they will sign up, see whether they will come on board even before you go and do anything. All right. You could also do a concierge where you manually deliver the solution, right? Instead of having to go and code out stuff or do something big. Is that something that you can do to manually deliver the solution using piecemeal parts that you put together? You can prototype something, or you can put together existing services. So, but ultimately you are manually delivering it in front of the customers. So this one is like this is RedMart. Of course, RedMart has been acquired by Lazada, but when Roger Egan started this, he and his co-founder borrowed a van, put a vinyl on top of it, went around delivering the goods around to customers. And in the process, they discovered that the early adopters were actually diminutive, small size, Japanese housewives who were buying beers for their husbands because they always entertain a lot of people at their houses or their apartments. So the next version of things is, like I said, the Wizard of Oz. All right. So one way is concierge, where you manually deliver and the customers see you doing it. Another way is to do a Wizard of Oz, where the customers can't see you. Like Wizard of Oz is basically referring to the movie Wizard, where Wizard of Oz, where the Dorothy and the gang of friends that she has going to find the wizard to send Dorothy back. Went to see the reason, big green head floating in the air, turned out to be some old man in the background turning knobs and bells and whistles in order to move the talking head. So in this case here, a Wizard of Oz MVP, you can always do a WhatsApp bot, where you use WhatsApp to pretend that you are a bot, and then you can take orders on WhatsApp and pretend to be a bot. All right, we have done this successfully. It sounds good in theory until you realize that if you don't have people looking at it 24/7, you won't respond fast enough. And again, that's where testing ground, we power that process up. So even though it costs very little to do the WhatsApp bot, we make sure there's always somebody behind the bot to answer your customers when the time comes. But why are we doing that? We do that because we learn very fast, and then we can change features very quickly. We can change features, just a few text only. We do whatever we need to, we upload whatever we need to, we respond to the customers as we need to, but we follow a script first. If the script doesn't work, we will move out just to make sure that we accommodate what the customers need, and then we feedback, so build, measure, and learn, and we improve on it. All right, coming to the last few parts. Right, finally, make sure you're capturing and sharing those learnings. Right, remember I said build, measure, and learn. You can actually see this process in here, right? You're building up your hypothesis, you're measuring your hypothesis, and now finally you're learning after you have carried out your experiment. Okay, so Once you have learned those, you got to use the learning to adjust your goal or to adjust your strategy or to look at the problem or to look at the hypothesis or come up with another hypothesis. Regardless, you have to start one loop, but you don't really start from beginning, because this time around, even though it looks like you went back to the beginning, like the term spiral development means when you're going up the mountain, you're going around the mountain, it may look like you are going around back to the same point, you know, in the plane, but when you're going, looking at it in the vertical direction, actually you're moving up. There is progress. Okay, you're getting better, you're getting better, you're getting better. All right, and that's one of the things that we have done for our customers also, like when we go out there and we look at what our customers are writing or the feedback to us, we put it together, we generate word clouds. This is, for example, one of the word clouds that we generated. We look for patterns, we look for insights so that we can share that back with our customers. Usually because we are, from an external point of view, we notice things that they don't notice. And then, but we do it together with the customers. In return, they also see stuff that because of the way that we present data, they now see something new for the first time. All right. All right. So I finished talking about how to test those opportunities. I'm going to finish up with talking about how to use this framework and how to introduce this framework to your company. In order to use this framework, I talk about the how. This use part, this next section is not about the how. I already talked about the how. This one, the using one, is the human element of it, how to actually use it. The one part of it you're going to find is that you're going to get paralyzed by not having enough data. Because as engineers, we want a lot of data, right? In my experience, when you're dealing with human beings, especially if you're very clear about which customer segment you're trying to reach out to, right? By the time you hit the 10th interview or the 10th person you're experimenting, you should be able to pull out 70 to 80% of all insights that you can possibly learn, right? So it's better to move fast than to try to get that incremental, marginal improvement in insights, okay? It's better to take those existing insights, the 80% that you've gotten, create another hypothesis, another experiment, and try on again, okay? And be mindful of which testing method to use, especially because you always got this clash, right, between speed and fidelity. Like, how much can we do as a prototype? And the more high fidelity you make it, the longer it will take, right? Don't get me wrong, in today's world, of course, there's a lot of software that we can do to give a lot of high fidelity mockups or even software or applications, right, in a very fast speed. In that case, please do it. But if you ever have to prioritize between speed and fidelity, choose speed instead, okay? Again, if you have any questions, please put it down in the Q&A or in our chat bar, all right? So, and in my next thing, you see, you will don't get disappointed if you see that your solution might not result in very big uplift in a goal straight away. You might need multiple solutions to see the uplift in goal. It's like, like fatigue, right? Metal fatigue, it's just going on, rotating, and then finally it breaks, right? The striations that happen in that metal fatigue, it takes place over many iterations, but after finally it will fail, right? So in the same way, you want to bash through an obstacle, sometimes you might have to work on several solutions, right? And many hypotheses, and you slowly see one, because there could be an effect that once you create this and you put another one and put another one, individually, they do nothing, but when you combine them together, something happens in the customer behavior and it just breaks through, okay? So don't be surprised to see that you have to do this multiple times. Next, your minimum viable product mainly gets you to the base camp of the problem mountain. The whole point is that it's not the end product. You are supposed to build, measure, and learn and get you to the next version, get you to the next version, and get you to the next version, okay? I'm going to end off already, but stick around because I'm going to share with you some interesting things that you will get from us right after this webinar. Next thing, I want to introduce, how do you introduce this framework to your company? First, as it sounds like already, even within the strategy, we tell you to start small, right? And iterate from there. Same thing, even with your own strategic planning, the way how you translate corporate goals into solutions, also start small. You don't have to roll out this whole thing to everyone. And I think this is intuitive. Most companies will not overnight just change stuff, right? But you will likely start with the group that is the most receptive, right? And you start from there, okay? And you want to replace this big planning upfront with more frequent strategy scrums. Like if you really do half yearly Or worse, if you do yearly, please try not to do yearly. Then maybe it's every half a year. Worse, not very good lah. Quarterly will be better, right? Some people might just say, look, let's just do it every month, especially for very new projects. If it's on the other hand, it's a whole company-wide thing, quarterly is good enough. So you will see that Google, Twitter, and all this, when they use Google, the Objective Key Results Framework, they will do quarterly reviews on it. You want to get something into you want to get some kind of this framework into your people's hands quickly, right? Prototype a small version of this with what we call your early evangelist teams. Find one team, find one department that's very open to change, very excited about doing it. Work with them, help them change up, because first they're really very excited to do stuff. And when you make it much more nimble for them to be respond to customers, they will get more excited, results will start showing, and they will become your early evangelists to the rest of your departments or your teams. Okay, so get something into those cookie monsters, get into their hands quickly. You also want to get people to work together. This strategy thing, try not to have it only at the top. How do you bring thinkers and doers together? Front office, back office, right? Senior level and the junior level. Bring them together so that they will ideate and talk to customers. They will get different insights and pull those things together. And finally, integrate the best ideas that are available for you. Open source a strategy throughout the organization, right? I find many times, actually, there's no strategic document that's available for anybody to know what's going on. They usually have to talk to their boss. The boss says, oh, it's a document, confidential, can't really show you. So whereas for the startups, the Google OKRs actually is open to the entire company, right? So when you go and look at somebody else's goal, you can actually look at somebody else's goal. You can look at your boss's goal also, or even the founder's goal themselves, and you can see what is happening throughout the organization, right? So, and then by doing so, you also begin to see whose ideas are coming out and integrated regardless of who it comes from, even though it might not be their subject matter expertise. You don't know who can come up with ideas from whichever department. And the last part, debug as you go. Celebrate the failures. Please don't go and punish people just because they question you, because they say, oh, you're a troublemaker, you just support us, right? You want to allow people to have a safe space to question, to embrace failures, right? To say that it's okay, we are trying out this strategy framework. You tell me, how do you feel about this strategic framework? We will improve it as we go along the way. All right, so now at this point here, you might be curious that, okay, Brian, you talked a lot already, but is there anything that you can do to help us? That means, can Testing Ground actually help you? One of the things that I realized helping so many companies is that trying to run a new venture is very tough. Not every company, not every startup, in fact, most startups, right, will not be able to afford the hiring, right, of new blood to create a new venture, right? So what happens? The existing people have to struggle with the load. Employees also not keen to join. You say, hey, you want to take on this project, they don't want, right? You want to hire the right people, they also don't want, right? Because they want to focus on, especially in today's market, they're all trying to find something stable, right? So they're unsure what tools to use. Even if you want to do a startup or a new venture or a new strategy, you also don't know how to implement it. So very tough, limited time, high uncertainty, lack of right skills, right? So running a new thing, very tough. We empathize with it, we understand it. But we are asking you all, right? What if you could hire a team on a monthly subscription? You see, we're not talking about consultancy services. We tried that before. It becomes too big and too bulky of a service, right? And we are Testing Ground. We're not really a consultancy, as we're trying to sit down with you and ideate. What we want to do is to help you to test your strategies, test your ideas, test your product, test your framework, right? On your pricing, sales, everything. We want to help you do that. But if you want to test so many things in the business model, they all require different skill sets. And that was one of the things, right? So instead of hiring one person to be the expert, and it's quite costly, for a fraction of that price, you not get experts for each phase of the execution, because we got these people in our team who, when you call upon us, they will come in to help you, or they will execute on your behalf, right? So which means you get experts and doers on retainer, almost like retainer lah. The reason why I use the word retainer is because there are people on retainer. So people put me on retainer, which means, okay, we need you on step, we need you to come in to advise us as and when every few days, every few weeks, right? And talk to us about stuff. So they put me on retainer. The problem with that is I'm only one. Well, technically I'm not, but I'm assuming if you look at me as a consultant, then I'm only one expertise. And I felt that was very weak, because consultants can only talk, right? Whereas we also want people who can do. So we're not the big consultancy. I don't talk about McKinsey and gang, right? We're talking about other ones. So how do we be experts and doers on the retainer for you? So the concept here is what we are pitching to you today is say, hey, look, if you're starting something, right, one subscription, we give you many microservices that's necessary in your testing process. You only need to, you can activate one micro task per day, which is more than enough based on our experience, which means today I need to do a landing page, will help you. Brian, we need to find 10 customers to interview, will help you. Can we talk to someone? We are kind of lost with our business model canvas, yep, will help you, right? One task a day, but you pay one price only, having access to all these experts. So it's more practical, it's according to what you need and whatever that you need at that moment to get going fast, right? So we got talent, tools, techniques, training, right? So talent means we got people who can help you to almost be like your, like I said, consultants on demand, right? Who can set up the experiment, sit down with you, to reflect with you. You say, okay, I need somebody to have a pair of eyes. Can you come in? Yep, sure, we'll come in. We look at it, we see what it is. Do you need us to help you do some research? We can do that for you. So we say, hey, I need to get some, what's the total number of active users for Facebook or whatever. We need some numbers here for our pitch deck. Yep, we'll help you, we'll get it for you. We're basically trying to make it easy for the founders, okay? And then the next thing is that, all right, but we got tools. We can create landing pages, email drip campaigns, we got collaterals, any MVP you want to create, we almost can make all of them already, right? If you say, but I don't really know how, we need a playbook, we need a way to train our own internal staff. Yeah, we can teach you how to do sales generation. We can build up your sales playbook. We can help you build your funnel. So we bring in those techniques. Is it digital marketing? Is it on technology? We'll help you to do that. And finally, if you just say, look, we need a refresher. So instead of having to find a course, just put up your hand and say, can we just get you all to run through this very quickly so that we understand what it is again? Yep, we'll bring in, again, micro tasks, right? One task a day, okay? And this is just a catalog. So at the bottom right now, I know some of you might want to leave and all that, but please stay on for the Q&A. If you want to, if you have go for dinner or something, please just go to the link, grnd.link/IES, right? Or use a QR code. And you can sign up right now on for our workshop, for our microservice, or a complimentary strategy consultation session. So you get to chat with me, right? If you need more time, right? To understand your context and everything and how we can help you, okay? So we can help you on problem solution validation, all the way from the usual digital marketing way to all the way of creating, like what we just said, the Wizard of Oz MVP. Channel validation, product validation. If at times you have a pitch deck to prepare or you have a grant that the SG Founders thing that you're about to do, we can even help you put together validation videos, which recently we have done, right? We've gotten videos of partners who say, we will work with this startup and put the videos together so that we can show the VC, say, hey, look, not just letter of intent, but look at these early adopters. They're so excited, they're willing to tell you, please fund this startup. All right, pitch deck design, market validation tools, all the way from graphic design, more market research, even virtual assistants. Because when it comes to meeting customers, you might need people to manage your calendar. We will manage that for you. So now all in, we have done, now in terms of microservices, we've not done it for these bigger companies. Okay, they are way too big. These are the companies that we've helped through the entire search process. All right, so in terms of reaching out to customers, testing out their ideas. What we found is for smaller SMEs, for startups, they can't afford that. And they might be able to afford a smaller package, right? In which they can just have one task a day, right? In which they need and gain access to talent, tool, techniques, and training. All right, so start your venture on the right foot, quick turnaround, embrace uncertainty, get team with the right skills, and that's what Testing Ground is here for. So ending this off, thank you so much for giving me the time to share with you about the thoughtful execution framework. As I said, there's post-webinar activities. You do have an innovation strategy walkthrough with us. It's complimentary, pardon the spelling error. Attend a workshop to get a deeper dive into how to implement this, right? If you're interested about that, you can also indicate it. Find out more about our services. If you're keen, you say, hey, look, I really want to get access to this. Sign up again. For those who are interested in our microservices, I do have a surprise for you. For those of you who do sign up for that one, we'll keep it as a surprise when I meet up with you to talk about that. Okay, but go ahead, please get on there. There's plenty of you. Please don't leave this without giving your feedback to us. All right, so Andy, at this stage here, we are ready to go. How about some Q&A? I'm not sure whether we got any questions. It doesn't look like we have that. So, but meanwhile, any questions from the IES team, Inca team, or from everyone else? Because I don't see any questions. If you have any questions, please go ahead, put in it, or raise your hand, and we will allow you to talk, share with us. Meanwhile, Andy, anything you want to comment?
Yes. That's what you are proposing here in terms of testing and hypothesis and all that. Does it work with B2B, or how we do it differently?
Yeah, so it's the process is almost the same, except that the customer acquisition is longer, right? So to try and get people to get meetings, that's why you need a service like what we are doing. In fact, all the things I've been talking about mainly are really, we've done B2C, and then some of them are B2B. B2B takes longer because you need to go and find the owners, right? The B2B owners to go and talk to. So what we will do is then we will reach out to them via email, we'll reach out to them cold calling, we'll try and get the interviews. But the techniques still work in the sense of B2B anyway. All right. Why? Because you're still talking about business model testing, right? And whether it's a business strategy, that's what it is.
How do we know we have tested enough? We are ready to move, or is there any rule of thumbs? Yeah.
That's interesting, right? There's this part here of over-learning also. You will know when you start seeing that you can predict what the customers are saying. You almost can tell already. Like there was, when I did, after I read the Lean Startup book, I tested out another concept. I interviewed 100 people. By the 25th person, I can tell you what they're about to say already. So I start doing a pitch deck. But I said, okay, interview law, they tell me to interview. So I carry on interviewing under 100. And it was just like, I'll say the same thing over and over and over and over again, right? But I was just newbie at doing it, you know. So by usually, especially for B2B side, they are quite focused on their problem. They know it very well. So by the 10th interview or so, like I said, usually 80% of all the insights will start percolating up already. You'll start seeing some pattern. They will start saying the same thing. Here's a caveat. If you don't know how to do your interview, you will start realizing all of them will say different things. Why? Oh, because you're going to talk to this Lao Ban, this big boss, but he owns this size of company on a very big company. Another one owns smaller one. Another one is actually MNC. And you interview all of them, they're actually not the same customer segment. So you always end up with different insights. Then you say, hey, I don't see a pattern there. Yeah, of course, because your customer segment is not focused. You basically interview everyone in the ecosystem. So instead of coming up with one problem, you tested 15 problems because you talk to 15 different customers. So that's why people usually end up with different problems. They discover different, they're not really validating. Oh. So, okay, thanks, Sabrina. Sabrina is asking a question. I see a chat. What's your opinion about hackathons? All right, so here's the definition of a hackathon, right? It's about 48 hours. They come together. They say, hey, let's sit together. Let's solve the problem. It's very powerful for finding co-founders. So please go for hackathons because you get to meet people who are like-minded, because it's a place, a pool of people who are excited about doing something. So go for hackathons. The problem with hackathons is that after that, usually the team gets very excited about their idea. They assume that because the judges have like voted them and given the first prize, second prize, third prize, or some prize, they assume that the judges think it's a good idea, it should be done. Unfortunately, my experience has shown that most of the time it doesn't work that way. Right? So following a hackathon, you should go ahead to test your ideas again, right? So, but my opinion about hackathons is that it's a good place for networking, good place to find people who can hustle, work very hard, right? Because you can observe with your eyes. Unfortunately, now a bit hard, but maybe you can, because in this kind of climate, if you can do a hackathon and you can do it remotely, it shows that your team is quite nimble, all right? Okay, so Sabrina is asking about corporate hackathons. Okay, so I'm going to share with you the evolution of what is happening in the innovation scene. A long time ago, a lot of corporates do hackathons. Some still do, most stop already. But they say, hey, we support you, we watch, you do lah. That means we give you an event, we watch, you all do, and then we give you a prize. Then after that, corporates started coming out with their own corporate incubators, right? where they say, we no longer want to just watch, we also support you all, but we support you with a venue and everything, but you still do, right? So you come out with the corporate incubators. They found that the ROI not very good, and there's a reason for it, because why it's an incubator, the connection back to parent company is very weak. So the startups never ever get access to the parent company assets and resources and knowledge. They are pretty much, there's a firewall between all of them. So it's just literally a corporate incubator all by itself. So then after the corporate say, didn't work. So they come with their own innovation lab. That means we do it ourselves. So they're going to find people, come in and do all that stuff. And then what happened was that it's okay. Some work. Most actually still find that because they're still within the environment, they move very slowly, right? And they're still straitjacketed by their internal legal requirements and quality requirements, etc. Right? The latest one is actually what we call a venture builder. Right? A real venture builder is where we supply the entrepreneurs, people who can move really fast, and the corporate says, here's money, here's our assets, here's our network, here are our customers. We open it up to you. You work with us. Here's our goal. Reach it. Run as fast as you can, entrepreneur. So the entrepreneurs get money, get resources, get network of customers. And you know what? They're almost starting not at zero. They're starting at almost at Series A beginning. Can you imagine you come in and immediately almost like Series A, right? So the perfect example, of course, is over in Indonesia, OVO. OVO was created by Lippo Group. Lippo Group worked together with BCG Digital Ventures, which is a venture builder. Lippo Group said, do something, help us get digital. So they came out with a digital wallet, right? And what they did then, the first thing that when they did the wallet, Lippo Group said, open up all our car parks. We will all straight away use this wallet that has one of the ways to pay. Can you see that? If a startup tried to go to Lippo Group and says, can you open up your car park and let us use? No. Because of the venture builder, they got access and the top level CEO's approval that all the car parks started coming in. And that was one of the most potent ways that the digital wallet got adopted in Indonesia. It became one of the biggest ones. Okay, somebody raised hands. Okay, come in. You want to share? You can. I'm going to allow you to talk. You can share with us. What's your question? Coming, are you there? Okay. While we're waiting for him to share, because I can't hear him, Sabrina has another. Well, with these problems you identified, with what solution will you propose? For us, that's the reason why we created Testing Ground. It's so that to get past some of these difficulties that the corporates have with testing the ideas, it's easier for us to test it for them. And so that's why before COVID, the bigger companies came to us to test our ideas across Southeast Asia, because we've got groups of testers in almost every Southeast Asian country. And what happened was that when you have an idea in Singapore and you want to present it to your innovation board, and your innovation board is likely to ask you, so do you think this idea can scale across Southeast Asia? You only have best guesses, but once you found your product market fit, or at least you validated in Singapore, you can give it to Testing Ground and we can go and get you early sensing in all those other markets. Today, we are also trying to enable the team, especially going forward, innovation budgets are going to be smaller, right? So that you can come to us and then we can say, hey, one price, we do one task a day. That way you don't need to hold, but of course you can up your tiers, right? If you say you want two tasks a day, 3 tasks a day, but the good thing is all the costs are so much cheaper, right? Because there's no CPF, you don't have to go and hire, you don't have to worry. We handle all of that. We're almost like a managed service for you, but it's on a subscription level, right? Kami, are you going to answer, or is it, is Kami going to ask anything? Sabrina, yes, survey, can you see at the bottom there's a QR code, and then do you see ground.link IES? I'm going to put it in the chat also. Okay. Okay, any other questions, everyone?
So I think it's interesting you talk about the venture builder. I think it's companies, it's a good way of doing entrepreneurship where they put people and resources and be innovative. Yeah, I think the key, if let's say if there's any SMEs here, sometimes as a parent company, it's very hard to innovate when there's a cultural legacy and certain way of doing things. The real innovative entrepreneurs and the companies, right, they need to break out of that. And that's why we encourage SMEs to spin off small teams, nimble, agile, able to test, able to do new things, not encumbered by the parent companies. And
Right.
with a mandate to solve a particular big problem in the industry, in the market, there's a need, move fast, get resources, and move faster than the big companies can do. And that's where opportunities can be accomplished. Yeah.
Okay, so you're absolutely right on that one, Andy. I mean, the fact is, I've seen a lot of or innovation teams. Now they are manned by awesome people. Love them. They are innovative. They're energetic. They are talented. But in ecosystem, sometimes it's tough to move. And for me, actually, I did business transformation for Citi, right, Citibank. And one of the things I found, one of the things that I did. So for those of you in the corporate and you want to know how I did it, you can always ping me again and get on this call with me through the survey. Was that I created an innovation assistance team where I brought together all the gatekeepers and I found a way to get them to approve projects faster, right? So, and I basically paved the way for innovation projects to be approved much faster by creating an innovation assistance council. See, most people have an innovation council. I created an innovation assistance committee, right? So they came together and they help. Their whole idea is to facilitate innovation, find ways to get to a yes that is safe for the company. So it's still innovation, it's policy innovation, right? It's not product innovation, it's actually internal policy and regulation innovation, right? So figure that out. So that was also interesting on one of the things that I did in Citi.
Yep.
Any other questions, people?
Any other questions?
Okay.
If no more questions, our time is almost up. So I will be wrapping up. But before that, shall we take a photo together? Can you turn on your camera for a moment?
Yeah, the audience will not be able to do so, only the panelists. So yeah.
Yeah. So this is not the normal Zoom call. This is a Zoom webinar.
Oh, okay, it's fine. Okay, then thanks, Brian and Andy, for the sharing, very informative. And thanks everyone for joining us today. We will send to all a post-event email with all the relevant info and contacts. If you had any inquiries about IS Inca or testing ground, please do not hesitate to contact us. To know more about IS Inca, please check out our website or follow our Facebook and LinkedIn. Okay, thank you and see you all next time.
Okay, thank you everybody.
Yeah, Brian and Hong Jie and me can take a picture.
Proof that it's done. Okay, have a good dinner, everyone.
Smile for the camera, Brian. Okay, I got that. Okay.
Okay. All right, as people. Great. Bye, everybody. See you for the next event if I get invited back.
You're always invited back. You are super talented with all this. Besides the degrees, you are doing so much. Yeah. Do you need more testers in your?
Yeah. Yes. Interestingly, we are also tapping on a network of translators. So as a non-profit work, right? So I'm also helping a group of non-profits transform, and one of them is an international translator platform. So by training the translators to do testing, it means they also earn more money, right? And at the same time, my customers now get access to people who understand not just major languages, but minority languages. Places that they normally wouldn't be able to go to in terms of dialects and all that, right? They'll be able to go and help you interview those people. Very useful for non-profits, governments and all that, right? Trying to reach out to villages and all that, right? Or even FMCG company trying to get out to the real remote areas. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. We'll be able to share your slides for this or part of it.
I will share part of it. Yeah, I'll share whatever we have.
Yeah, especially the services part. I think I will take a closer look. I can offer that to more people. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
We have people on the call. Anybody needs to talk to us or what? If you want to, this is can almost be considered like post-event, right? Then other than now the music is on, everybody come to the front, some going home. So any one of you need to ask a question, please go ahead. We will happily to allow you to talk or get you all involved. Anyone here, or are you all just happen to left already but never turned off? Okay, they're leaving.
Yeah, I think we have probably delivered such an awesome speech that they have no questions. They have to digest it for the next 7 days.
Okay, so anyway, Andy, Honje, thank you so much for organizing this. Happy to do some more. Hopefully one day we can get back to doing face-to-face stuff. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, and thank you, Zing, as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you everyone.